during the 2022 election, but court found insufficient evidence and dismissed the case. Atiafa said the court a couple of incompetencies, one of which was that person who collated the evidence for the petitioner did not follow the right process, including getting the right signature and stamp of the National Court. He said the long wait was full of anxiety and frustration, but he is free now to carry on with service delivery in Hanganofi. Central Provincial Governor Rufina Peter has presented various checks to service providers as part of payments totaling 1.8 million kina for major projects that will impact the Central Province in development in the coming months.
These are some of our major projects that we are, for which we are handing out checks to the proponents of these checks, this project. So the main sectors, tourism, agriculture, are covered here in this space, and so the impact that it will have on the ground if these projects are successful is significant.
In regional news, Australia has welcomed the final report of the International Atomic Energy on Japan's proposed release of treated water for the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. The IAEA has found release of the treated water would be consistent with internationally accepted safety standards, which ensure the protection of people and environment. The Australia Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency has reviewed the report and supports its conclusion. Australia strongly supports the IAEA's work around the world in support of nuclear safety and non-proliferation. A statement from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade said Australia acknowledges the extensive engagement between Japan and Pacific Islands Forum members on this issue. The New South Wales government is under renewed pressure to fast-track the rollout on a cashless gambling card and take stronger action on poker machines after widespread reforms were announced in Victoria.
Labor premiers at odds in their approaches to gaming reform.
It is totally incomprehensible. Chris Minns should just simply follow what Dan Andrews is doing.
Victoria's Daniel Andrews has announced sweeping changes, including limiting gambling on poker machines to $100 at a time and making gaming cards mandatory so any cash fed into a machine is linked to the player.
By the end of the year, if you're a criminal in Victoria with thousands of dollars to launder, you're going to come across the border and do it here in New South Wales.
The New South Wales government is insisting on trialling cashless machines before committing to a rollout. The year-long trial was supposed to have started this month.
The Premier should get on with it and commit to cashless gaming. There's a clear recommendation from our Crime Commission to introduce cashless gaming right across New South Wales.
But the Premier says the New South Wales Crime Commission's recommendation was to address money laundering, not problem gambling.
I don't want to be in a situation where we pursue that reform in New South Wales and the unintended consequences of that reform is that people lose more money as a result.
The Premier pointed to a Victorian study that found cashless payments can cause people to spend more because electronic methods don't involve what the research calls the pain of parting with cash. But the research also says while these findings suggest that cashless gambling could lead to greater gambling expenditure and therefore harm, any harm minimisation tools implemented alongside a system are also likely to have an effect.
This, we have to have a trial to see it works. This is nonsense, Chris Minns.
But the results of the trial aren't due until late next year.
New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has said that the Pacific region is becoming more contested, less predictable and less secure as China becomes more assertive. Hipkins said it was important that New Zealand continues to engage with China to listen and build dialogue, he said in a speech to the China Business Summit on Monday. This poses challenges for small countries like New Zealand that are reliant on the stability and predictability of international rules for our prosperity and security. Hipkins said a small country like New Zealand cannot work alone, and the government recognizes the importance of building partnerships and inclusivity to address global challenges. In sports, the first corporate volleyball quarterfinals of the highly anticipated finals took place on 16th July 2023. It was an event to behold several teams displayed their prowess and secured spots in the second quarterfinals, in the cup, plate and bowl playoffs categories. The corporate volleyball competition in NCD has completed quarterfinal playoffs. In the women's plate category, Government House, BPNG2 Money Plus, Digicel Brian Bell IPA, PNG Ports and NCDC secured spots in the second quarterfinals. On the other hand, ANZ, GIS, Department of Works and Planning and Monitoring, Treasury, IRC2 SP Brewery and IEA Women will face off in the first elimination final. In the men's cup category, the competition intensified as teams battled it out on the court. The Customs, NCD, Parliament, the undefeated team Dentos Lawyer from Pool D, Digicel Credit Corp and PMNEC secured places in the second quarterfinals. The matches in all categories were fiercely contested, with most games stretching to the fourth set and even the deciding fifth. As the final progresses, the excitement builds and teams are leaving no stone unturned to secure their place in the upcoming rounds. Kempa FC pulled off a masterclass performance against Hekari United FC in a thrilling top-of-the-table affair on Sunday, 16 July in the Southern Conference 2023 National Youth Soccer League. Both teams showed great potential in an opening parts of the competition and a shoulder above every other team in the competition. Their match was a display of class, but Kempa FC came out on top, putting a stop to Hekari's winning streak. The round 5 match went down to the wire, with both sides trading sword for sword at the goal mouth. In the end, Kempa FC recorded 2 unanswered goals to stamp their authority as a genuine title contender for the 2022 National Youth Soccer League. The defeat marks the first loss for Hekari United in the competition. The Port Moresby Men's Softball Association is back to full swing after successfully topping off its first regular softball season post-COVID on Sunday with a big grand final decider between United Brothers and minor premiers Power. Brothers, proving a class above their more experienced opponent Power, picked up the silverware after a 5-0 defeat at the end of 7 innings. Newly elected president of the Port Moresby Men's Softball, Jenny Park, was quite impressed and pleased with the progress of the competition thus far, especially after effects of the COVID-19 pandemic over the past 2 years. In her concluding remarks, President Park congratulated the grand finalists, both A and B grades, for ending the season on a high note.
Up is back to the top 5 teams. PNG Power as the minor premiers in the seasonal competition, and Gazelle as the minor premiers that have come through. And again to the grand finalists being United Brothers Softball Club and Defence Softball Club.
That's all for the midday news. More at 6 p.m.
New season,